Greetings everyone, Warsaken Jesus here. As the Warsaken Blitz Beta has now entered the open stage, I thought people might want to know how to actually create a deck in Warsaken Blitz and what things you should keep in mind when you are doing one. First off, you need to log in the Warsaken cards site, which is easily findable on Discord, or just searching for warsaken.cards. Then you need to log in, as I have. You need a Wax wallet, of course, which will need to contain 65 NFTs, which one has to be a leader, and 4 territories, plus any cards you wish to use. You do need 3 or 4 copies of each card to actually create a deck. If you want to consider some cards you might want to use, you could always check the collection and find option and browse through all the cards that the game has available and find the specific ones in, let's say, Atomic Hub. And there are some really useful filters which I will go through at some other video and partially now. But what we want to focus now is how do you create a deck for Warsaken Blitz to be used in the beta. Go to collection and decks section, and then you need to pick a deck slot. I'm just gonna sacrifice one of mine first to open the slot for the decks. We currently have only 5 available, so let's take this one. Wait, actually no, I kinda like that one. Let's delete the Saturdays. Yeah, I'm just gonna click the trash bin here and delete this deck. And now there will be, after every refresh, there will be a free deck slot here. So I just click the empty slot. If you are making a new deck, all the slots are empty. And then click the edit. And let's put the name here. Let's say balanced deck on this one. First thing I'd like to mention, there are some useful features here. For example, these symbols will indicate which game modes you are able to play with the deck you are making, so you can easily know if your deck is Blitz enabled or not. And there are some warnings here that will help you to know a problem. For example, here is a text that says a pick a leader, which means I haven't picked a leader for this deck yet. There are also some blue decks which are like suggestions. Basically, you do not have to follow them if you are making a deck, but they might be useful for you. I believe there should be a mention. Yes, here's one. It says that I do not have a GeForce card in decks, that you are allowed to have one. This is not relevant for Blitz, so it's a suggestion. Just remember to pay attention for the red messages. They mention pretty accurately what you need to do. There are some useful statistics, if that's what you like, about what cards you have and how much resources they cost to play, as well as other things, like what resources your territory produces, what type of forces you have. But everything here is essentially not that useful for Blitz, so I leave that for standard later. First thing you need to do is you need to pick a leader, so just select a leader here and it will automatically connect you to your collection and show all the leaders you have. Let's see, let's pick one of my favorite leaders here, which the Legion will absolutely love me for taking, which is the Covenant Key. His Infinite Edition version, which says Key, his full name is Covenant Key. It's a quite stylish businessman. Also a signature card for one of our forum moderations on board. There's Warsaken Discord. Sorry about that, I'm not a native English speaker. Then just pick alt deck here and add the card to whatever you want. As you can see, there are the other decks I have listed here. So if I wanted to change the deck's compositions, I could do it here. But I'm just gonna pick the balanced deck, which I want. And then there's option for sideboard and main deck. Sideboard comes into play for standard, so I'm gonna skip it. Essentially, there are cards that you can swap with your existing cards if you play more than one match against a person. So I'm just gonna book it on main deck. And now I have leader, and the leader has 20 starting moral. For Warsaken Blitz you need to have exactly or under 20 starting moral, you cannot go over it. So this defines what territories I want to add on my deck. All the abilities on the leader do not matter for Warsaken Blitz, only the moral value on this leader. Then I pick territories. Now territories are a bit different. The moral value that the territories have plays a big part for Warsaken Blitz. For example, this Wolf Power District territory, it says it has a card ability that increases moral by 2. This means starting moral of the leader. These are actually only cards in Warsaken Blitz that affect the game mechanics. In this case, if I pick this territory, it would increase my moral from 20 to 22, which means I cannot use it as it is because it would put my moral above 20. It also has a 6 moral cost if eliminated, which is pretty expensive for Warsaken Blitz, so I'm not gonna pick this card. My benefit here is that since I'm already at 20 moral, I can pick territories that have a low moral cost. So let's go for Mount Aptani production field site here, which has only 3 moral penalty if it's eliminated, and I'm gonna add it to my deck. Yeah. And for next, I'm just gonna add something. What would be a good theme for businessman? Let's see. Ooh, oil, of course, but those are rather expensive cards. Let's go for effectiveness here. So let's say take a poor Kamasani. Let's use the full art version of it. And let's see. Something rather nice. Partling Island is one of my favorite cards since I have it on the Smoke Noir version, so I'm just gonna pick it. As a bonus, it also has a 3 moral penalty. So it's a very good card to pick for this one. And next I need to pick something with low value as well. There are plenty of 4s here, and I think I'm mostly done with 3s. This one has a 1 moral penalty, which would be a great card, but it also reduces the starting moral by 1. So unless I want to balance it out, I best leave it for now. It would be useful for some decks that have 21 moral, let's say Infinite Edition Emperor Shangli. Right, let's pick Triton Oil Fields. I have a foil version of this card. It's called Foil Prime, which is actually the most common rarity you can have, so I'm just gonna add it to my deck. Now my total moral value of all my territories is actually pretty low. It's only 13. So my opponent must destroy each and every territory I have to get an access to my leader. Or they need to reduce my moral out by other means or reduce my deck size to 0. Now I'm gonna build a pretty balanced deck, so I need to have 60 cards in it. And balanced deck prepares for everything. So I need to have a nice mix of forces, VMD, which are weapons of mass destruction, buildings, intel, and moral and weather cards. Instead of going in the order, I will just jump to VMDs, because VMDs are a bit special in Warsaken Blitz. While you can have multiple different ones in your deck, you can only make a 1 VMD match during the entire game. Which means that after that, all the extra ones are useless. So I wouldn't generally recommend doing more than 1, or if you are going for moral win conditions, perhaps 2. So I'm just gonna pick 1 nice here. And this would be a nice one, but unfortunately I only have 2 copies of that card. Let's see. Nuclear Blast. Always a beautiful choice. Just picking one of these here and add it in my deck, and as you can see it shows on the VMD side. Then I'm gonna pick a new one. The reason why I'm picking this individually is that I actually have a different version for all of these cards. So they are not counting, the system is not counting them as the same card. It counts them as the same type of card with the same name essentially, but they're all different rarities. If I were to do, let's say, I'm gonna move the forces now, so I'm gonna show an example. If I would, let's say, pick let's take the John Ryder Oil Engineer card here, which is a force card. And as you can see, I have plenty of common rarity cards here.
Check your pressure.
Common cards have the black borders on the card. So if I add it on my deck, I can just simply click the card and increase the copy size to 4. And it shows all the 4 cards in one pile because they are same rarity. And here it shows them differently. As I mentioned, they are different rarities. So with the current version of Deck Builder, it can take a bit longer time to actually make the deck so that your cards are different rarity compared to a deck that has cards of same rarity. Now, since this is Warsaken Blitz, the fact that John Ryder is an 8 unit with no attack power has no meaning. So I'm gonna do something else besides that as well. The damage value are really based no function in Blitz, just the type. These are force types, so they will destroy a territory when played. Gonna add some special text limits here. And this one I have 3 copies of, so I can just add the 3 copies here. And now I have 8 forces, which makes for 2 matches, essentially, since you need 3 copies of card to make a match. And I recommend using 4 cards, simply because if an opponent bounces your cards off your field using enter cards, or tries to mill your deck by reducing its size, there's always a chance that you lose a card you need to make a match if you have only 3 copies. Okay, let's add something else here. Well, this seems to be the Discord Fan Made card for some reason, so gonna add this one, Private Charity Vet. I wonder why this is popular. Right, let's put it on main deck. And this one I also had multiple copies, so I'm just gonna add it like this. Now I have 3 matches here. I think I'm gonna add a couple more before I move down. Let's do something more dangerously looking, shall we? Oh, I like submarines. The IGS Ghostmander. Let's add 1 copy of this. And since you saw I had 1 extra copy, so I'm gonna add an extra copy. And I could search for it, let's say Manta here. And it would automatically count how many mantas I have. And as you see, the system already locked this for force cards. So I automatically only search for force cards with the name Manta. Gonna add 1 here, and I'm gonna feature the other search functions now, just a bit. If I wanted to, let's say, make an Air Force themed Blitz deck, I could go here, and since I already have a force selected in the type, which I could change here, I will pick, let's say, I'm not gonna pick something fancy. Let's just go for subtype and pick, let's say, air unit. Okay, it will now show all my air units here. Let's find some big bombers here. I have some. Right, here's 1 V-type hex bomber. And as always, it's split into types. These Fireforge ones would be meaningful in standard, since if you look at these 2 cards, let's say this one, as you can see, 170 health. And the normal copy here, or full art one, has 160 health. This is the biggest difference you can get in this game, more or less, for force cards by having an upgraded card version. But for a Blitz, because I am trying to make this fairly decently, how to say, with decent speed, I'm just gonna add this common version here and just add 4 more copies. So now I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different force units for a total of 20 cards. I will probably add more forces here later, but I'm gonna take a look at my deck now to beat the proper balance. And if I go up here, I will see that my deck is currently containing 29 cards. And I will need to have a total of 65 considering these units and 60 other cards total. Now I'm going to add some building cards. Building cards in this game will allow you to return 3 cards from your discard pile to your hand. You can pick any cards you want. Or it allows you to return 6 cards total to your deck, which is really powerful as inter cards, which I will mention in a bit. Let's see something nice. Okay. Let's put some resource silos here. We're gonna add the full art version first. And put some extra common versions here. And then let's see something flashy. Oh, the Habit Events Barrier has a nice night vision aesthetic here. So let's go for that one. And another Hyper Defense Barrier. Oh, accidental click here. There we go. These are promotional cards, by the way. You can only get them from events. But they are only as valuable as a normal common card, so they aren't that game breaking. Okay, now I have 2 different buildings for 8 cards total, which is a pretty good basic setup to counter most things. So let's add some intel here. Inter cards in this game are the most complex ones. They let you to target opponent's cards on the field and return them to discard, which can be really harmful for your opponent. Or they will let you to actually reduce their deck size by 6, or you can essentially order them to discard 3 cards from their hand, but they get to choose which cards they are discarding, so it's less effective than the other options unless opponents has a really low count of cards in their hands. Let's say they roll the 1 on first turn and have only like 9 cards, since you start with 8. It might hurt them to be discarding 3 cards in that situation. Alright, since he is a businessman, he might have some worker issues, so let's take the cost production strike card. And I had 3 full arts, so I'm gonna add that one and find a new one. I'm just doing it a bit lazily. I could, of course, always write the name here. So let's take this Rummage, for example. I could just click it and just write arrow here, and it would already divide the card count a lot. Just picking these 2 here. Let's set First Wave Fireforge edition as well. Doesn't give any benefit for this card like it would be on the Force cards, but it's still nice to have a few of these. Since Inters essentially help me to counter opponents' ideas and plans, I think I will add a few extra. Well, let's go for the search algorithm. It's a pretty cool card, I'll consider it. Really good card for standard. Alright, now I've got a pretty balanced setup for Inter cards to counter opponents' plans, so I'm going to go for moral cards. Moral cards either increase my own moral by 3 or reduce my opponent's moral by 6. This is really powerful if opponent does the same thing which I did and takes their buildings with low moral values. So you either need to destroy all the buildings anyways, or just use the moral cards. As you know, if a building loses 3 moral, territory loses 3 moral when it's eliminated, it's lots more effective to use a moral card. That reduces moral by 6. Okay, Key is a businessman, so I take a mutual disarmament here, some treaties. It's a nice handshake. And let's add them. Promo version. Oh, accidentally put it on the sideboard. My bad there. Sideboard has no meaning on Warsaken Blitz, so would be a bit of waste. Let's see. Well, business people like to do blackmail, but public embarrassment is a bit of a key Pacific card, since he has, if you read the law, he has some scandals in history, as he's a billionaire and rather wealthy person. we always poke our moderator with this card. So let's set 4 copies of this here. And now let's see how many cards I have in the deck. I have 57 cards in my deck, and I need to have 65. So I could add 2 weather cards here. Okay, there are some flashy weathers here. Sorry about the load time. My browser internet is not ideal. Speaking of ideal, I think I take the ideal conditions cards. They are nice and bright. And as a businessman, you probably want to have ideal conditions anyways. At least when it comes to deals. And some cloud cover, which is also a rather nice nature themed card. Right now, if you see, I have a full deck. It doesn't give me any warnings anymore. It just says that I have low intel gain, too few VMDs, and no GeForce cards. These are all indicators that refer to standard game. What you just need to know when you are making a Blitz deck is that these lights here say that this is a Blitz ready. I'm gonna demonstrate one possible error which you can have though. So I'm gonna take this V-type axe here. I'm gonna reduce the count by 1. Then I'm gonna press V and type. Just find the card here. And now let's imagine I wanted to make a theoretical deck. A theoretical deck is a deck that is made by cards which I don't own, which I can do by simply, let's say, take this card and I pick a variation, and I'm gonna pick a variation I know I 100% don't have, which would be a blood foil version of this card. And it says I have 0 owned. I will pick the mission version here. And as you can see, there's a blood foil card with these side stripes. I'm just gonna add it to my deck. See? So now it says the deck is standard ready, and it says it's a Blitz ready, which I'm both true. High composition. But if I go to the matching and go to the battle section and pick start the match and pick this deck, it says not allowed. Not all entities are owned. Because the system knows that despite this being a well-structured deck, I do not actually own this one. And now, unless I made a mistake, it should be ready if I pick a play option. Yes, all owned, I could use this deck. But before we do, let's just take another look at the deck and see if there's something we need to change and what my win conditions are. Since this is a force heavy card, I clearly want to take out opponent's territories. Now I have to think, are these 5 forces and this 1 VMD strong enough to do that? I can recycle them with the buildings as they let me to return cards. I can counter some opponent's options with intel. And I can reduce their moral directive, which are all good things, and these allow me to take extra turns. But perhaps since I'm not going for intel heavy deck, I might have too much intel here. So I'm just gonna remove these intel cards. And instead take an extra force just in case, so I have a higher chance to get some matches. And let's pitch something more scary here. Let's take this Panzer tank as an example. I have 2 full art versions besides this, so let's add one more. Just write Panzer here. And add the medal variant. I would also like to mention that if I will go back and just take a look at my collection overall. Let's imagine I would have an empty deck out there, and I would get an idea that, wait, this nuclear aftermath might be good for my Blitz or standard deck. I could just click this card, and the add to deck option is here as well. So if you just have a deck idea floating about, which is unfinished, that needs some cards, I believe I had one, this one for example is not Blitz ready, you could get an inspiration if you browse your collection to just add cards later and then balance it out when you want to. But for now, I have this key deck, which is ready, so I'm gonna go to battle. First, I'm gonna open Discord on my other screen. And then I'm gonna click start match, since I'm hosting my match. If I wanted to join a game someone else is hosting, I could just go to Discord. There's a channel called Strategy then, where people post codes they use for this beta test. You get the code from them. I'm gonna pick an example. Here is a code someone posted. I'm not gonna actually go there because I think they already have a match. And I just wait and press. Let's see if I'm lucky. I'm just gonna click this and use this. Can I get to play against? Oh, it was up for grabs. We got lucky. I also happen to know this is a person who has won with my hide a couple of times already, so let's see if we can get some payback with my new composition.
Weapons are my forte.
And there's our broad leader key. They are using the Recruiter Ace. And seem to be a lacking bit, so once I get my hand, I'm just gonna hide it and see if I have the animations on. I do. Now, the card animations are on by default, and as you can see, let's say this hacked version of Dexter Smith has this nice little animation. And in some cases, for some browsers like mine, it can lag a bit, so I recommend going to the card options and removing the option. Okay, let's get started. I got some weather conditions here. I'm just gonna play 2, picking the option to play multiple cards, which is the red one. And some Dexters, so instead of playing 1, I want to play 2, since I have 2 actions here. Just gonna click this and go again. And it automatically swaps the turn to my opponent. Also, I would like to mention, if you want to customize your avatar here, as you can see, I have the Upto Kobani face here. And my opponent has their own symbol. The game actually takes your symbols based on what portrait you have on Atomic Hub, which is a marketplace, which the game cards are also being sold for third-party sellers. The site, Warsaken as a game itself, has its own shop, which is on the same website as the deck creation, which is the Warsaken.cards. But the Atomic Hub profile, which you have there, will have a picture, and the picture will be taken into this client as your image for now. In future, there will be, of course, a method where you can add your own image, probably. And it depends on developers. I mean, it's a pretty simple way to just take an image associated to your Wax address and just copy it here. I just merely presume it's gonna go like that. Also, as I mentioned in my other videos, all these titles we have, as well as the dices and the background, are rotating. So they are not our real titles or ranks. They just are something they are testing, rotating. Savage General, by the way, is the title the main developer of the game has. I'm by no means the main developer, but I rather like having the title. There, as a player, I think the champion one would be nicest to have. We do have a champion, by the way, since there were 2 unofficial Warsaken tournaments. Ivan from the Warsaken Discord won the standard one and got the champion title, and Hanalex won the Blitz one. Didn't get the unfortunate champion title, but we all think he's a champion, especially in this game. Okay, we are doing pretty even so far. I think I got a bit better field. It depends what rolls we're gonna get. Alright, enough of rambling, let's focus on the game. And as soon as I said that, I of course roll a 1. Okay. And these dice rolls define how many cards I draw and how many actions I get. So this means I only get to play 1 card. Oh, it's just a public embarrassment to me, so I'm just gonna put this here. Generally bad idea to fill your deck and, field fully, but let's have a bit of fun. Oh, one reminder though, if you want to play the game, we do have, it's on the strategy stand, kind of like semi-unofficial PDF, where people can, well, no, sorry, not PDF, it's actually online form, where people can register who they played and what their match ID was, if you want to record who won and lost, which I'm gonna do after this one. There's also an official bug report on the announcement channel, if you just scroll up a bit, where you can report on all the issues you find playing this game. Just remember, this is a public beta, and there are gonna be issues. I have already found few, we are all reported them, and I know the developers will fix them as soon as they can. This theme is rather effective. So remember that one when you play. Okay, let's see. He has the ending conditions for me up, so I need to get those cards off. Let's gamble for some damages and hope he doesn't roll high. Damages being of course into cards, which would let me to bounce these off. My field is full. I cannot play anything else. I would need to return cards to my hand by clicking this and take back to hand option. But it will cost me actions, which is kind of waste, since I'm going for gamble win here anyways, since they just turned to die against me. But I'm still in the game, as you can see. My low moral territories are essentially keeping me afloat. But if this one falls, I will of course be vulnerable. But I think they rolled a 1. No, they rolled 5. Oof. Minor delay there. Okay, this might be it for me if they have 2 forces. One for this and one for... Oh, they don't. Interesting. But they do have buildings. So they're probably gonna take back the V-type X's, if I'm correct. Yep, they took the V-type X's. They have 2 actions, so they're gonna play two V-type X's. Pretty certain. Unless they fear my ramage counter here. Oh, blackmail. That's more cards, so if they play that, they can alternatively just wipe out my wall entirely.
They don't want this to go public.
Oh, interesting.
Wait until they see these.
I'm gonna test something. Sorry about that. I'm gonna push down the card animations.
Who would have known?
Oh, it still shows. Interesting. And because that card was the first card I reported bugged when I started playing this beta 2 days ago, because it didn't show on the game, so they added the default animation to it while they fixed it. They worked that fast. Okay, I'm taking the extra turn here, hoping I get something good. Oh, 6, this is looking promising. Alright. I can return some cards to my hand. What would I be able to return that would help me in these situations? I could take the rear weather guards. So I have these here. But it would be a gamble again. So 1 for weather guard, play 3 weather guards, 2 moves left. Yeah, I have to go for that. This is highly risky. I do not recommend it, but I'm more or less losing at this moment. And next turn. They have only 4 morals, so I could go for moral end. Okay, I need a high roll. At least 5. 2, not good. I could match the events to take out the territory, but if I do that, let's see. This one is 1. This one is 3, I think. Don't be able to win since I don't have other territories either. Okay. Now I need them to roll 1 and not have the soldier forces in the hand to end this, because it's highly likely they can just match this one, take my moral to 0, and then play the 3 force cards they took and end the game, which is 4 turns, but they don't seem to have the cards to end this. Interesting. Okay, this is looking a bit better. I got the double match for those two. Do I have something else I can use? Okay, let's look at the field bit. I'm just gonna put the UVAT here.
Select target.
The reason being I need to make room for, let's see, should I do that? I could bounce the stuff, but the risk here is that if I bounce stuff, then actually I might get space to play cards which they need. So this is like a situation where if I hindered the game, it might actually help them. And I actually just made a mistake. I could have probably won this turn if I did this first. Yeah. And I just... This is why people, you should always stay calm with Blitz. I was supposed to reduce opponent's moral by 1, but I instead clicked to increase my own moral by 1. So if I lose now, it's entirely my own fault. I could have used that, reduced their moral to 1. And then you see reds, I would have won this turn. But I essentially spoiled my chance to win. But that's entirely on me, so... Okay, let's take back some cards. Yeah, let's take the excess. I could try with a gamble, but at this stage, since I already more or less ruined myself, might as well just, you know, leave it to luck. If I roll a 3 next turn, I win. Instead of this turn, which I could have won. So let's see what my opponent rolls. They roll 2. If I roll 3 next turn, I probably win, and they, unless they got exactly one force match, besides this moral card, they will win. So if they have one of these two, they will win. If I roll 3, I will win, besides making that mistake. Let's see what I roll. 5. Alright. At times, luck helps you overcome stupid mistakes.
Tracking.
I'll take it. Never give up hope.
Select target.
Get my fighter ready.
GG. And as I'm in the kind of instruct you on beta things, I'm gonna show you the form which I'm talking about, which is a Google form here. So for this match, as an example, I would roll down here. Oh, whoa, there have been a lot of games. Score name, War, this. And I think I played Modino. And I will add the game code here, which is the room number. And this is kind of optional thing that we do for keeping track of the games. I could, of course, there are some writings here, for example. They're still unable to select bounty of multiple cards with plain rush, so we'll keep observing. We like keep a bit of notes here for each other for bugs to look in the games. And if there is need to make an in-depth report, we will go to the announcements and find the official bug report and click that one. Anyways, I hope you liked this brief deck building tutorial and match as well. Of course, there's plenty more things to deck building, especially with the card section. There are tons of filters. Just click this little hanger icon here, and you can do anything from arranging cards based on their experience value, their rarity, card ID, even their play rank, as well as card type. Let's say if I take force, I can select a subtype. There are plenty of subtypes for forces. There's even Wingman, which is a pretty rare for cards. And I can pick any variation I want to look for. So if I select night vision, it shows on the night vision cards I have, as well as upgrade varieties. I could even select, let's say, if I take the night vision off, I could select what cards use fuel resource or produce fuel resource. It pick the John Ryder, this one, and I could even pick, like, let's say which cards I have more than 8 copies or 9 copies. It arrange them. There's plenty of ways to arrange things, and you can use all these things when you are creating a deck. So for example, if you just want to make a deck with cards that you have 4 or more for Blitz, you can just select the 4 or more here, and it only shows cards which you have 4 or more copies, which are of course qualified for the deck making. Just click the card and edit the deck. Anyways, thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, and I hope you enjoy the Warsaken Blitz Open Beta.